Hey everyone, it's marabelleblue. Welcome to a new Pathetically Unfiltered episode. This is a special episode because I have my wonderful guest with me, a girl in the plant world. We are going to be talking about the TikTok ban and everything that has gone in between the last 12 hours. So if you are new here, welcome to this channel. I do talk about news and react to those news, as well as the Unfiltered Rabbit Hole. And I said that I was going to switch up the topic, but there is so much going on that I may have to put that on pause. So let me go ahead and bring up my friend. Oh, and if you're not new, welcome back. I almost forgot to say that. I'm just trying to be quick because I know I'm going to be editing this tonight. So I want to not have too much spaces in between to cut because I'm just obsessive when it comes to cutting and editing. Welcome to A Girl in a Plant World. We are going to talk about the TikTok ban, what happened 12 hours ago, why TikTok has become so important for people. And we're also going to talk about a very sensitive discussion. I have been sharing it on several Discord servers that I have been invited to. It was something that I was initially going to do, but now that with everything going on, I think it's appropriate to bring this topic up. And we're not going to go through the whole thing. Girl in a Plant World knows what I'm talking about. We're going to be talking a little bit of Army Talk. It is a orientation fact sheet that was written March 24th, 1945. And it has a lot of information here that's basically of what's happening now. Before we get started with those talking points, I just want to say how A Girl in a Plant World and I met was through TikTok. It was through that, the name of that place. I always forget the name of that place. That
I know,
Alex Jones.
Bohemian Club.
Right. I knew it
Yeah.
started with a B.
Yeah.
I came across your video and I was like, this was the spookiest shit that I have seen in a long time. And I don't know if my comment was, is this real? I think that's
Yes.
what I commented. Is this real? And you
Ugh.
wrote back right away. And this is the crazy thing. Like, you talk to people on Twitter, you talk to people on Instagram, and you will ask questions. And 99% of the time, you are not going to get a response. You go on TikTok, and if you ask a question or make a comment, there are people who are quick to respond and engage with you, which is not something you have seen in other platforms.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Oh my gosh. What a point. Literally, that is so spot on. I think what it is, and it's so true when we were kind of coming to the tail end of like our goodbye for TikTok, we
Mm-hmm.
realized how much community is in TikTok. That is so big. There's a lack of community in other platforms. And that being said, that light was shined so big on TikTok, and when we make these videos and we put them out there, you're already nervous, because you don't know what the feedback you're going to get. You don't know what people are going to say. So there's that, but when people are engaging and interested in what you're saying, and there's a whole conversation about why you posted this, what you posted, etc. And I feel like that is a big part of it. There's community in TikTok, and that's part of why we reach out to people, in communities, is for important conversations.
Well, I think what happened with TikTok that you didn't see in other places was that community. Like, there were communities inside this bigger community, and you had people that were interested in engaging in certain topics. So if you had people who were interested in conspiracy theories, they would have that type of community for that. You have people who like to dig deep in rabbit holes. You have a community for that. You have people who are interested in pranks. There's a community for that. So there's all different types of communities within the community. And then, of course, you have the people who are the haters who like to troll and who like to go in other people's videos and make snide comments because they think that they know better. So let's go back to 2020 when the whole fiasco of how convict Trump, because we don't call him president here on this channel, we call him what he really is, a convict. And he made comments about how he wanted to ban TikTok because basically this was the area where he was not well liked, where facts were being spoken around that time of everything that was going on. So, with a fascist state of mind, people do not want other people to find out the truth of who they are, what they're engaging in, what they are trying to do. And here we are in 2025, and we're going to have to battle it again.
That's so interesting you saying that, in the sense, one, I cannot agree more. It's, I think, crucial for people to remember this man was sitting there saying, oh, this app is from a communist country. Let's even go back to where he was saying Chinaman. Okay. It's interesting because I remember for a good chunk of time before I downloaded TikTok, I had no interest in it. And I really don't do social media, as you know, to begin with, besides TikTok, and now I'm on Redno. I do like to watch YouTube, only because I feel like that's another platform where you can find a lot of really good information. Do you have to
Right.
filter through it? Yes, but same thing with TikTok. But my impression of TikTok before I downloaded it was, oh, it's just a bunch of teenagers getting on there dancing. And then I
Mhm.
downloaded it. And I am telling you, I was cracking up, scrolling through, laughing so much. And I haven't had joy in an app since until that moment. Kind of start off small, like you'll post like reactions or this or that, but then you kind of, like you were saying, when you find your community, you find your niche, and you kind of go from there. But that being said, it is so interesting to me because it was kind of him that started this whole anti-TikTok ban. And then you have people like Zuckerberg and Meta who started lobbying years ago. You know, we don't know what happens behind the curtains, but in my personal opinion, I very much so feel like there was mutual influences between the two of them when it came to the idea of banning TikTok when it was first on the table.
My issue with Facebook has always been a place of if you thought outside of the box, you were free thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And there was something wrong with that. I
Yeah.
would have arguments with random people on there. And I'm like, why am I arguing with these people? Why am I defending myself and defending my character to some people were faceless, some people were not because they would put their real pictures on there, attack you basically for no reason or just assume things about you. And I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, you don't know me and I don't know you. What gives you the right to attack my character, what I represent, or what I do behind closed doors, or what charities I support? Like, you can't just sit there and assume if I made a comment. There was one person where I made a comment about something, and then she just assumed right away that I wasn't supportive of that, that I was just talking out. And I'm like, first and foremost, you have no idea if I supported this charity, like giving money to them. You don't know that. You don't know if I went out and volunteered or had experiences. Like, what are you doing? You're sitting here on Facebook attacking people, is what you're doing.
And it's
And now
so
you're going to
funny.
get blocked because you're being an
Yeah.
ass.
Oops. Hit that button, girl. Oh, did you bring up a point or what though? That is so. Oh, yes. And what's also interesting about that is 2020 COVID. And in my experience of Facebook, Fakebook, I love that. There was a lot of division and already with just COVID, right? And
Mhm.
I felt like Facebook fed into the division with family, friends, just people in general. With that being said, it totally supports what you're saying. Facebook turned into a place where it was creating division. And
Yes.
that to me was so, so damaging to the American people because we no longer were looking at each other as allies. Before
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, we had MySpace, right? And we all were like, hey, Tom, we were having fun on MySpace. We were new to the idea of social platforms on the internet. And
Mm-hmm.
then Facebook came in. And when Facebook came about, I remember I was so young. I just remember, oh yeah, Facebook's kind of like if you're in college and you're trying to reach out to other college people. And then it kind of slowly blowing up. And do you remember when your first, like your grandma got a Facebook or your aunt or like a
Mm-hmm.
parent and you would kind of panic and you'd be like, oh
Yep.
gosh, like don't find me on Facebook. But then as it progressed so many years later, it just turned into this sounding board of hate and
Yes.
division. It was so
That's
refreshing
exactly
when
what happened.
Yes, it was so refreshing when we got TikTok because that went away. We were back to the world of creativity. We were back to the world of creating content that made people happy. We were back to cooking, dancing. Like I said, I was kind of like a little bit judgmental at first because I was like, oh, it's just a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of teenagers dancing. I'm too old for this. But you're not because there is a community all over that app. And once we kind of realized how toxic Facebook was, we all bandwagoned and was like, peace. And sadly, Facebook kind of turned into a place where boomers went to die. I know that's
Mm-hmm.
really harsh to say, but it's
Mm-hmm.
true. And because people did not want to hear hate. We were tired. I think we all collectively have moved to a corner of, I don't want to hate my neighbor. I want to be informed. I also want to learn a cool recipe, you know?
Right.
So,
The
yeah.
hate itself is draining. And to log into something and
Yeah.
see that, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see constant hate and rhetoric. It's awful for that. It's not good for the soul. In other words, it just isn't. I want to now bring up some videos that I want to share and just kind of get reactions to things that have been going on since the TikTok ban happened last night. And I'll tell you, when it happened last, I forget you were out with your family. I was sitting here. I have been editing now my coaching video longer than I should have. I'm already at the end. I finished doing all of the cuts. In the middle of everything going on, I was listening to Jace playing, he's doing his golden hour, he's playing, and
Yeah.
I'm a little emotional, you know what I mean? Cuz it's like it was a long day hanging out at the hospital, listening to everybody talking about Miss Nikki and the dedication, and I'm like, I'm so dedicated, but my cat still passed away, It just, so I'm going through those feelings, and then like the feelings of, well, what's next with TikTok? Like how do we find our ways to build that similar community? Even though people have suggested so many different apps, it just didn't have the same feeling. And then when it happened just as Jace finished his golden hour, that I tried to get on another live and I couldn't comment. It said, your comment is not posted. Your comment is not posted. And I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
And then it happened. And that's when I text you. We went on Isaiah's Discord. I went on Santana Speaks. I'm on his Discord. So everybody is sharing in there, which is great. It's like another community within a community. I'm in Jace's community as well on the Discord. So we are all keeping each other informed. But I want to share this video with Tizzy, who talked about the issues with coming back from TikTok. Like, now we're back. And everybody's like, yay, we're back. But is everything is as it seems to be? I described it in one of the Discord comments. I said, it's kind of like that ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend who wants
Yes.
to come back and they say, I promise you things are going to be different. And you're kind of now reluctant.
You're so right. And I'm going to just make a quick comment about that. One, I'm laughing because literally that's what was going through my head. Like
Hmm.
exactly to a T. But two, you're so spot on. I think we had some hours to sit and think. And we start, it's like kind of going back on, you're rehashing that toxic relationship, right? and you
Yes.
start to like point out all the things and the pieces are coming together, I think we started to realize how much of a narcissistic relationship we're in with our own country. And I'm just going to
Yeah.
say it's true.
Oh, look at that. TikTok's back. It's great, right? It's great. I'm happy for a lot of people. But also, I am Jack's unbridled rage. This stunt, and make no mistake about it, this was a stunt. When TikTok shuts down the app and in its shutdown notice praises Donald Trump for saving them, it's a stunt. And this stunt is a loss to the Democratic Party that I think may surpass Kamala Harris losing the election. But some of us, very few, but some of us remember that this whole banning TikTok thing started with him. That he got pissed off that a bunch of kids used TikTok to organize and make it look like thousands and thousands of people were coming to a rally for him. So his ego couldn't stand it. He got out and bragged about how he's going to have record numbers there, and then showed up and almost no one was there. That pissed him off so fucking much that he went to shut down the app, and it didn't work. In the meantime, however, they figured out, wait, we're good about using alternative media. The right is very good. They've been investing in that for years, and they invested in TikTok, and it paid off. Turning Point USA claims that in the days leading up to the election, they were doing 60 million views a day on their content because they had people backing it and pushing it and supporting it and sharing it. Meanwhile, TikTok hates me, like the company hates me. I have almost 7 million followers, tons of articles, refuses to verify me, has instructed moderators to target and suppress me. This is from a conversation I had with a moderator. So you can confirm the company is not a fan of mine. I'm actually quite sure of it. Your name has crossed the servers over here numerous times. This is what I dealt with, and despite that, I built a platform and I built a following, despite no fucking help from the Dems or anyone on the left. A bunch of us built it with our own blood, sweat, and tears. And then they just gave this beach ball to Donald Trump and the right to be like, look, we're fucking saving TikTok. And for everyone who thinks I'm mad because I'm losing some sort of revenue, I don't make shit from this. I'm mad because other people are harmed by it. That's the reality. I will never fucking forget this. We can't go after every politician who supported it because some of them were just fucking morons and you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I promise you, the people who did this, the people who championed this bill, who made it like their mission to do this, I don't give a fuck what letter is in front of your name. I am going to do everything in my power to use my significant influence to make sure you lose your next election. Because if you won't listen to us when we fucking whisper, you can listen to the door slam as we push you out.
I
Wow.
like what he said at the end about it's not about him, but it's about the people that rely on TikTok, that do business on TikTok through TikTok shops. You know, the fact of the matter is the TikTok shop for some people have become their own personal QVC. And that's great. You know, QVC is not knocking on anybody's door talking about, oh, we love your brand of soaps, so we want you to sell on QVC. Nobody is doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking of soaps, by the way, people, surfbox.com. Surfbox.com. It's great. I made a comment on my post that it's great that people get influenced and want to also sell soaps. Yet another when you're just blatantly stealing ideas. And I just needed to put that out there. So good luck with that. To know that there are people who rely on this platform as a source of income. There are people who are having shows on here like Zeus. I'm obsessed with him, with every little thing that he has put together. It's like the grown up version of Jerry Springer. He has all
Yeah.
of these sound bites, and I love every last one of them, but his shows are about information.
I cannot agree more with that. Honestly, the thing about TikTok is we have pushed into a direction on this app that not only were we collecting information, real information, not always, again, you have to filter through. It's not always great. And it depends on your algorithm and all of that, which don't even get me started. Personally, I just feel like the collecting data was used for our algorithm and what we were interested in. But that being said, it's an app that has allowed people to make extra income because of our economic crisis that we have in our country. And yes, I understand that COVID played a part in inflation and it's a world thing. I fully understand that. But there's also still problems in our own house, in our own country. Sorry. That being said, you do have to build from the ground up. You know, you have these celebrities, when they make a page, everyone just kind of runs to it. But when you start off small, you have to climb that ladder. Every time you gain one follower, you might lose one. And you're like, oh gosh, what did I do? How do I fix this? How do I make my content better? How do I make myself more heard? And you're back to the drawing board. And then sometimes you'll gain 4, you'll lose 1. You gain 10, and they stay. But again, it's about building, climbing that ladder and getting to that point where your content is out there because you're trying to put it out there. You want people to view it, you want people to see it. It's the content creators that bought that product, used it themselves, put it out there. Then I find that information. Again, they started off small and they climbed that ladder. They weren't immediately given a platform just because they were a celebrity or of some status. It's kind of like you think of like the celebrity, list of A, B, C, D. You're a D-list celebrity. It still is a level of celebrity. People are still, you have a fan base. So when you start off with nothing, you build up to something that has allowed people to be heard, make money, and also, I don't know, be more creative. And so that's special. There's something special about that. We kind of started to realize on TikTok, we weren't about every celebrity that made a TikTok page. I don't know if you remember, but literally a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, we kind of started that whole anti-celebrity block list that kind of started with the Kardashians, and it moved on because we were sick and tired of these people using platforms to sell things. Example, we have these wildfires here in my home state, and Kim Kardashian is posting about Skims. This is exactly why we started the
No
block
one
list
should
in
be
the first place.
surprised.
It wasn't about the celebrity. It was about the everyday person making content, finding their community, making a little extra money once you were allowed to be able to promote their own brand. Not this like fake world of celebrity. There was idolization of celebrity for a long time.
You took me back to the whole celebrity thing. And I think that was the reason why TikTok is so awesome, because every
Yeah.
time you scrolled, you didn't come across a celebrity. So I think about reality TV. That was a simple way for people to get on a show, on a reality show. They're not
Yes.
big time celebrities, but it was a great way to push and promote products. So there was another video that I wanted to share, because TikTok right now, everybody that's on it, they are talking about how this is a setup. This is all like propaganda, things that happen. Now I want to read something from this thing here about the fascism government. Fascism is a government by the few and for the few. The objective is seizure and control of the economic, political, social, and cultural life of the state. Why? The democratic way of life interferes with their methods and desires for conducting business, living with their fellow man, having the final say in matters concerning others as well as themselves. The basic principles of democracy stand in the way of their desires. Hence, democracy must go. Anyone who is not a member of their inner gang has to do what he is told. Now, it's crazy. They put inner gang. They don't put like inner circle or anything like that. They're calling it what it is. And what gets me is how these MAGAs, these worldwide MAGAs, they talk about how like Trump is your dad. Like, you're not even in that gang. You're not. Like, you're not in that gang. You are
No,
nothing. You have no
literally.
money. You're not making an exuberant amount of money. Let's just put it this way. We are not billionaires. I am not a billionaire. I cannot even be in that group if I
Yeah.
converted to
Yeah.
this cult life.
Ugh.
I will still be like everybody else if I converted into this cult life. And the propaganda that people have purchased into is just complete and utter insanity. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look at the video that I did on the history of cults and focusing on Jim Jones and comparing him to convict Trump, everything is the same, right down to the letter. Who they praised, the dictators that they worshiped, the lies that they told. Let's do another video. I want to share, and I'm not going to play the whole video because it is kind of long, but there is a guy who talked about how he wants to, that he's here to defend Shu Chu or Shu. Is that how he pronounces his name?
I think.
The titleless, it used to be CEO of TikTok. It's not on his profile anymore, which is very, very strange. But I'm gonna
No
go ahead
way.
and
I'm here to defend Shochu and the video.
show
I
you.
understand that there's a lot of people that are like, he's sold out, like he's gonna sit with them. And as a closeted person who looks like this, who grew up in Houston, Texas, I just wanna say that y'all do not see the game that Shochu is playing. If you want to see how the game is played to perfection, then look at Ki Hui Kwan's Oscar campaign. This app is burning down anyways, so I'm gonna spill the secrets. As an Asian American male-bodied person, I have been in social circles with the most difficult men, like with difficult men. And it is insane the level of delulu that is in their brains, because the way they see the world, the way they go through the world is so completely soaked in patriarchy, in toxic masculinity, in all kinds of weird stuff that you have to pick your battles. A lot of my comments and people on TikTok want him to say F you to Trump, to not show up, to not sell out. And I could see that happening. But if you've watched Game of Thrones, then all that matters is the final blow and who holds the Iron Throne at the end. And sometimes, in order to topple your enemy, you have to convince them to let down their guard and to strike them from within. And right now, apartheid Elon and Kucky Zucky are definitely so blinded by masculinity that Show just needs to fake it. Like, he's faking it, I hope. I hope he is faking it, because as an Asian American, I have faked it so many times. Dude, totally. Oh my God. You're like, for real, bro, for real.
Wait, let's just stop for a minute because there's something that he says about the masculinity. Like, do you think they are so in over their head? There's a comment here that says, so you're telling us he's playing chess while they play, or she put pay checkers, but I think she meant play checkers. Let's hope this is true. I mean, there is a possibility that Shou Chu is playing chess, and he's not gonna put all of his cards out there. He's
Yeah.
not gonna tell you that he has all of the drawer 4 cards in Uno. That's something that you keep a secret until somebody has the last card, and then you go and throw the drawer 4 on them, or the reverse Uno card. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Something that was also really interesting to me that I just quickly want to point out, that after TikTok went silent here in America, we started doing some research, right? We were asking questions. Why is this ban happening? What is this? What's the word that they kept saying? National security crisis,
Yes,
whatever,
yes.
however they wanted to present it. And I got on Red Note, which was a whole other rabbit hole that I think is so important to dive into. And the idea of us just hating other countries, racism is also a big part of that. Propaganda is a big part of that. But did you know that this man was an intern for Facebook?
No,
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
Googled
know
it.
that.
I saw a comment on Red Note and I was like, what? And then I get on the Google and I find it. And I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Shou
I don't,
Chu?
yeah, the CEO of TikTok was a intern for Facebook.
I did not
Look it
know
up.
that.
I didn't either until last night.
Let's keep listening.
Interesting.
Because this is, like I said, this is a long video, and I don't know if I'm going to play
I
the whole
faked
thing.
it. I faked the masculinity to get by. Because if he's doing it all so that we can stay here, and yes, will we have to have some more advertising creep in? Will we have, but remember, this is all about trade routes. This digital economy that we have built up, are they going to try to censor our critical speech? Of course. But the thing with censorship is it's always dumb. Because you can censor words, you can't kill an idea. V for Vendetta. Shou Chu is faking it. He is faking it, I hope, just enough so that we can still have this space. And we might have to put billboards on it in order to appease the tyrants, but we just need more time to build this ecosystem. Because it started with us talking to each other, and then it started with us shopping with each other. And that's what got them all scared, right? It was us when we started shopping from each other and with each other. But the next step is us actually becoming friends and moving. Like, I think that's the next step. The next step is when the communities that we've built actually decide to go live together. And there are going to be cities, I don't know which ones, but there are going to be cities that want to climb the ranks in terms of our country, in terms of our overall world. And they're going to realize that the best way to climb the ranks, to become a better city, is to get all of us to come, to get all of us highly educated with a lot of technical skills. Like, y'all see the ex-millennial farmer, right? Like, some of y'all that have these huge followings, like, for you to be able to say at some point after this saga's over, you know what? I actually do want to lead. I do want to lead a community. Some of y'all are starting Discord servers, all of that stuff. That's the next step. That's the thing that they were.
And that is what's happening. That is what's happening, because I'm saying all of these things that are happening now, all of these communities that was built on TikTok, and now all of those communities are traveling as one unit. I mean, he's right. Think about, I think it was something that he said in this video, how we're shopping from one another. People who have licenses that can attain products through a wholesaler. Like,
Yeah.
I attain my products through a wholesaler. I have an EIN number, I have a license to sell, and they have a certified license. That's why I get it from the vendor, because clearly my house is not a factory where I could make soap all day long. I'll never get anything done. If that was the case, I wouldn't be able to sell. But think about a community like that where we supported one another and we didn't need Amazon. We didn't need something to be delivered to us from those outside sources. And they know this.
I think you're so right. In my personal opinion, because we only have 90 days, is that correct? Back on
Yes.
this app. And it was a Senate member that was saying, oh, well, Senate didn't really get a chance to discuss this. And it was from that, I learned this from, I think that TikTok that you sent me.
The senator from Massachusetts asking for a
Yes.
270-day stay because
Yeah.
remember that the ban was lumped into another bill that needed to be signed
Oh,
immediately
yes.
because
Yes.
they were slick and they figured we're just going to put this in here. And I don't know how they get away with shit like
They
that.
do
I
that all the
really,
time. They mesh things so it can be passed. I've been saying this for some time, but the day that as a collective we realize that lobbying is the problem with our government is the day that they will be scared, because that is the trigger right there. Okay. But two, this is my personal opinion. I guarantee we're going to start seeing on this app when they finally have their discussion or whatever. Their problem is exactly that. People are buying things, people are having community, all of that. But who does that hurt? Their bags, right? It helps our bags, but it hurts their bags. So the problem with that is I guarantee we'll start seeing 1099s on this app. On TikTok. Like, where's your 1099? Independent business. How much money are you making?
Interesting.
I need to know how much money you're making.
Very
Which
interesting.
I get. I mean, as a business owner, you have to have a 1099. I'm not saying that you don't.
But you
But
know
when
what
you're
it is? When you're working a 1099, basically that company is not responsible to have to pay health insurance because you are not a direct employee for that
right,
company.
Right, right.
So in essence, they're like saving money because they're not having to take out taxes, to take out unemployment insurance, to take out health insurance. They're not making those
Yeah.
investments on
I
you.
feel like, yeah, I think you're right. And that just, sorry, my ADD brain. But you're so right, because it made me pop up another thought, is that not only that, but they're like, whoa, well, maybe there is a lot of people making money. How can we collect taxes? How can we collect taxes from those people?
Mhm.
It's just
Yep.
another way for control and to us spill over our pockets for a world we can't even afford to begin with. The idea that you have to make $30 an hour in today's world across the board, and minimum wage across the board is $7. That's a problem. Because I've
Mhm.
traveled. Okay, you've traveled. We both have traveled. I
Yep.
know how much it costs for a gallon of milk 4 or 5 states away. And I live in California, the most expensive state, okay, that everyone's like, oh, like when I hear people in my own state sit here and say, well, I can't wait to leave. Why? For your $7 an hour somewhere else? For your high sales tax somewhere else? For your
Mhm.
property tax that is really high somewhere else? Look at New Jersey. Look at Texas. Look at their property tax. You want to go there? And then on top of that, you realize California's population and how much we pay in taxes to help America. And it's just a
Right.
fact.
You're
Because
right. You're
if you take
absolutely right.
California away from America, we're in trouble. I'll gladly
And
pay
isn't
my taxes.
California the 5th largest economy anyway? So yeah,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's the 5th largest economy and you took that away, those red states would feel it in a
Big
heartbeat.
time. Big time. And that's why knowing your information, knowing your facts is so, so important. Do I always love our governor? No. To be very honest, no. I mean,
Mhm.
look at the wildfires. Look at the mess behind the wildfires. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. There was people starting fires, okay,
Yeah.
to feed it more. And that's a fact. But that's a whole other, it's a
There's
whole other monster.
another show. It's another show
Yeah.
of madness.
But you get
Well,
it.
let's
You're
go
from
back
New
to
York.
yes. No, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I mean, if you wanted to work, if you lived in New York City, if you lived in any of the 5 boroughs and you worked in New Jersey, you were paying double the tax. You were paying the tax to work there and you're paying the tax to live in New York City. I was
Yep.
like, no, I'm not working in New Jersey. I could stay right here and pay one tax. Thank you very much.
trying to prevent, and they just sped it up. I know in my previous video I made this appeal to show he's not our king, right? Like the point is there's people that want a king. There are people who want somebody else to take the blame and take the responsibility because that enables them to do all the terrible things that they fear other people will do to them. Hopefully, at least the corners of TikTok that I'm on, we're starting to wake up to the belief that that is not the way it has to be. That there is a better way that we as humans can live together. Show is not our king. We don't need him to tell us what to do. But what he's doing right now, I hope, is buying us time, is trying to just like nothing lasts forever, but can he buy us enough time to build better everything? Build better stores, build better language. Like the language that we have built here on TikTok is probably the most impressive thing. But I do think
I want to stop for a minute. I want to go to his point where he says to buy us enough time to build. This is what I've noticed about people. And even for myself, I will not exclude myself from that list. We have a tendency of procrastinating. I'm like first on that line. Now,
Yeah.
granted that I was going through a lot of personal stuff when it came to Miss Nikki from May of last year until she passed away. My life was consumed with trying to get her better while I was trying to do a show. That being said, everything else in between, trying to get things done or saying, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later, I'll work out tomorrow. And this is something that I mentioned in the coaching video that I'm going to put up hopefully this week about taking 5 minutes for yourself for meditation. Go outside. Don't look at your phone. As a matter of fact, just leave your phone inside your house. Go outside, experience nature. Get your priorities in order. When TikTok came back, what were we doing? We were stuck to the phone. I mean, it came to a point that I had to tell people in the Discord, I have to stop. I need a break. They would just filling up the timeline with video after video. This was one of those videos. This is how I found that video, because somebody shared it. And there are times that we do have to stop. We're buying time. Maybe in these 90 days, we're getting a little bit of a reprieve of what we need to take care of. And what is that? Everybody is going to be different. There's going to be different priorities for people. Like my priority is going to be continue building up my YouTube channel, continue sharing the news, continue working on Servebox, selling soaps, and even now the other steps that I'm taking, and I'm not going to say it out loud, but the other steps that I'm taking to expand my store,
Right.
to have a bigger customer base. These are the things that I'm going to be focused on so that I can improve. And if that means utilizing TikTok to be able to have that for the time being while I'm building, this is what everybody needs to do. Yes, the TikTok may be a leg up, but like he said, nothing lasts forever. So just because it's back, it doesn't mean, business as usual.
It feels different too this time coming back.
Yes, it does.
It really does. And kind of like what I was saying earlier, my little bit of time on Red Note, there was a huge, big elephant in the room. And that was Americans waking up to the amount of propaganda that is being shoved down our throats since we were
Right.
kids. Like, you can't go to China. They're communists over there. We don't believe in communism. I'm not saying that communism is great, but to sit there and think as a collective that everyone there is terrible is also very ignorant. Now,
Right.
do we look at North Korea and just all of us as a collective just kind of like our hearts are just completely broken for the people over there? Absolutely. But there's also an island that is protected of the last natives. I can't remember. I think it's there's been two cases. One was a billionaire's son went over there just to say hello. He was literally killed and eaten. Then there was a Christian
Oh,
man.
wait, you're talking about the Sentinel Island.
Yes! Oh, see, I knew I was wrong. I knew
When
it!
you said that Christian,
Yeah,
I think, I'm sorry, he got exactly what he deserved. He should
but
have
yeah,
never, ever gone there. And this is the
yeah.
issue. Stop pushing your stupid ass religion on people that
Well,
do
yes.
not understand or want to understand that.
Right.
And you know what, too? Like India, they fly over in an airplane like dropping stuff, and these people are like
Yeah.
shooting spears at them.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm
They
talking
are
about.
primitive to the core.
Yes.
You couldn't pay me.
No.
Maybe we could send some MAGA people over there.
Can I tell
I
you about
might
our
cut
good
this
Lord
part
and
out.
Savior Trump? Yeah, please do.
Hey, there's a great vacation spot you should check out.
It's untouched.
It's kind of like, remember the movie Goodfellas when it's like, go over
Yes.
there, just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yes.
Keep
Oh my gosh.
walking.
I just watched that. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. But it's exactly my point, right?
I love that movie.
Me too. It's actually one of my favorites.
Hmm.
But it's exactly that. We have this island of people where we know as a collective, leave them alone. They don't want our technology. And even going back to like Japan and westernization and how for a long time Japan would not allow outsiders to come in because they were terrified of what westernization would do to their country. And this all falls back into the propaganda. And so here in America, we push propaganda so hard, yet we don't even realize it. And it wasn't until very recently that we realized how much it is shoved down our throats. Propaganda can be so scary. If we don't pay attention, then we're just going to be leading the blind, like blind leading the blind, following what we're told. And one more point, it's like with like World War II. We thought war wasn't a terrible thing because we had those posters with Uncle Sam. We want you, right? It wasn't until the photographer in the 1970s when we had the Vietnam War, or sorry, the 60s, the Vietnam War, and we finally saw what war looked like. And this photographer, I forget his name, propaganda once again was fed down our throats. Oh my gosh, you have to sign up for the draft. You have to be in war. Like, it's good for our country. Is war really good? Look at what it's doing right now to our world.
Yep.
I mean, look at these Palestinian people, these refugees. Look at Ukraine. It's terrible. It's terrible what's happening. And so, but propaganda exists.
And then you say that, and in this army talk thing, it says the fascists promise everything to everyone. They would make the poor rich, they would make the rich richer. To the farmers, the fascists promised land through elimination of large estates. To the workers, they promised elimination of unemployment, jobs for all at high wages. To the small businessmen, they promised more customers and profits through the elimination of large business enterprise. To
Yeah.
big businessmen and the industrialists, they secretly promise greater security and profits through the elimination of small business competitors and trade unions and crushing of the socialists and communists. The whole nation, they promised glory and wealth by conquest. They asserted it was their right as a superior people to rule the world. And what is convict Trump doing? Oh, we're going to take Greenland. We're going to make Canada the 51st state. How fucking dare you? How dare you disrespect other countries? And Puerto
we
Rico
also-
now, the Venezuelan guy who I think lost the election, talking about how he wants to take Puerto Rico. Are you out of your fucking mind? Look at the domino effect
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
started over stupidity, thinking that you could just come in. I'm going to take the Panama. Oh, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be the Gulf of America. You know what? Fuck you. Seriously.
No,
How dare you be such a disgusting human being and spreading all of this bullshit where now other countries are on edge because of somebody so stupid? How
Yeah.
long do you think his brain is going to last with dementia?
Oh, well, and it's also like
That's a
about
whole other issue.
and the world that we live in and how egotistical for us to even spew that out of our mouths, to agree with it, to think. Obviously, we don't agree with that, but there's people out there that are like truly into that thought and okay with it. Hello, colonization. What about Native Americans? Are we going to actually honor the Native Americans on this land? Because that's a whole other one, but it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. The sad part of it all is who's left to pick up the pieces? The people. You look at World War II and the aftermath. Look at Germany. Read about it. It's scary. It's actually scary. All it did was make things worse for the German people. It caused segregation. It caused famine, death. And then what happened? Look at how long it took Germany to rebuild their whole country, because how badly it was bombed.
Well, let's finish up this video here. It's going to be the final video.
Okay.
I think that this is now a step where we need to go and evangelize. Like, we need to go and take the ideas of gentle parenting, of equitable government, of free speech. We need to go and take those ideas and teach them to people who don't believe it, who are antithetical to it. I started getting big on here. One of the ways was I was talking about how we have to politically evangelize, because it really does come down to a belief system. People who believe in original sin and that gay people are going to hell, like, they are not going to ever understand something as simple as maybe you should just pay people fairly for their work. You must also understand that Shou Chu has worked with the Chinese government, is Singaporean, and is now working with the US government. The level of tact that is necessary, the level of emotional control that is necessary to navigate that world. And we all know how delusional and how out of touch with reality those people are. Is there a possibility that Shou has sold out? Yes. Am I scared that he has sold out? Yes. But again, as an Asian American male-bodied person, the things that he is doing are the tools of survival. And they are the tools of a mentality that says you cannot survive with all your values all the time. Like, you have to pick and choose your morality. And I know that for American sensibility, that does not compute. But from a Confucian sensibility, it is very, very simple. It is that you must survive to be good. And yes, if the cost is more ads, I'm okay with it. If it is like removing the fact checking and removing the comment like algorithms and stuff, then yeah, I think at that point we may start jumping ship. But I don't see how selling to a US buyer. Oh, and I don't think it's going to be to Meta. I don't think it's going to be to Kakizaki or Apartheid Elon. And the reason is very clear. They won't let that happen, right? Like the problem with the Game of Thrones is you never want to allow an ally to be too big. If Meta buys it, then Apartheid Elon, all of a sudden, his little tiny Twitter platform doesn't look so good anymore. And if Twitter buys it, same for Meta, I don't think that the Game of Thrones at the top, that any of them are going to allow the other one to have it in its entirety. And if somehow then they could have the idea of sharing it, which let's be honest, these are not men that share, right? Like then that would still give us cover because they would fight each other and not be able to actually implement any of these things. All that to say, I think it's totally fine if people are still calling Show a sellout, because you should, because he should hear that and be like, am I a sellout? Right? Like, and the earlier we can be sounding that, but just be calm and be patient and know that at least on my end, this is a game that I have had to play. And this is a game that many people who look like me in this country have had to play. And I think Show is playing it. And so just, he's not our king, but hopefully he's still our friend.
In closing, I guess final points of this video, there was something that he said, like the tail end of this video, when he talks about the tools of survival and how we have to pick and choose. I don't know if anybody has ever been in a position on a bigger spectrum when it comes to business decisions. I'm just really focusing this question on business. People who have been some type of manager, who have had to make executive decisions they may not be comfortable with making. I think that takes on a different understanding, a different level of if Show Chu is doing this to save face. Like when I first got clean and I was going to 12-step meetings, they said you can't save your face and your ass at the same time. And I was like, well, what does that mean? If you didn't learn your lesson the first time, the teacher will return. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like I would get so upset over these little anecdotes that people would bring up. And it's that right there where people may not have been in a position business-wise to make a decision to make a sacrifice. Is Shochu making a sacrifice? Is he doing this to save face or save his ass, in other words? So he's putting his face out there, but basically he's saving the ass of TikTok by making this sacrifice. I don't know. I guess, because I don't want to be here. We've already been recording now an hour and 25 minutes. And I know I'm going to cut it a lot, but it's probably going to be an hour long. So I hope that everybody stays with this video and really makes an investment and puts their feedback in the comments below. I think that this is a discussion that will go on for a while. And I also think this is not a discussion that just ends right here, right now. This is something really food for thought. What are the next steps? What are we going to do in order for us to continue to improve ourselves? Not only improve as a business ethic, but improving as human beings so that we're passing that knowledge down to generations that are going to outlive us and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts?
I think it's a huge conversation, and we're always, I feel like, aligned for the most part for our thought process, but it is a huge conversation that we need to continue having. Now our eyes are opening just a little bit more. We're seeing a huge revolution in our country right now, just like it happened in the 60s, just like it happened in time and time again in the 20s. But again, I want to shine a light on people really waking up to the idea of lobbying and how problematic that is for our government and our system, and how problematic it is for us as people. And I truly believe that we are going to see, like, my prediction is TikTok's going to stay. I don't think he's necessarily going to sell it, but I think we're going to see some taxes coming in. I think we're going to have to pay some taxes when it comes to TikTok and the income people make from that. It's going to be sad. It's going to change everything. The problem is that when you have too many people who are rallying against and collecting as like a collective, they're going to most likely be shushed. We've seen that multiple times historically. It's going to happen, and we have to push through that shushing and keep screaming louder so that we are finally heard as a collective. We have to keep pushing and asking questions, gaining information, gaining knowledge, the right knowledge, pushing forward.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, everything that you said, it's not going to happen overnight. I chalk it up to when I first came in 12-step meetings. You're not going to have a year overnight. I wanted it to be overnight. You know what I mean? I wanted to gain the knowledge overnight. It didn't happen overnight. Here I am 33 and a half years later. But it didn't happen overnight. And every day it's a learning experience. And I always welcome to be able to learn. And it's crazy that some people just don't want to. They just have this behavior of, well, I own you. You don't own us. Everybody's an individual, just like you are an individual. Stop focusing on other people and focus on your own life and what you wish to aspire. I don't want to get into the whole coaching gamut thing. I want to thank you for coming on to the show, and I thank you so much for taking the time out and being here. And with all that being said, I want to hear your comments down below. What do you think about this whole TikTok ban and what happened, how you felt towards it, and how do you feel about going back? And with all that being said, this is Marabelleblue and a girl in a plant world signing off. As always, remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other. Most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.